What's up, Benjamin D'Souza here. I was watching a video by AB Original called African Americans on that African Part 8, and I was reading some of the comments that people had made on his previous videos, particularly Africans and whatnot, in the intro to the video, and something just hit me. And it was this one African guy who said something to the effect that you guys are African, you know, if you're indigenous to the Americas, you know, speak your language or where's your culture and whatnot. And it's kind of funny to me because many Negroid peoples of various nationalities, particularly the African in particular, are akin to an abusive boyfriend. You know, they treat you like shit, but they don't want nobody else to have you. You know, when you're with them, they beat the shit out of you. But then when you try to leave, they break their neck to try to keep you to stay. And in my opinion and how I see it, a lot of Africans will vehemently tell quote unquote African Americans that they are not African. And they will be vociferous about this. But at the same time, they're appropriating the culture of African quote unquote African Americans. So then they can then turn around and say, well, the culture that you created over here in the Americas, you're really from Africa. So essentially, the culture that is so popular worldwide is essentially African. So therefore, we can take some credit too. Like, nigga, you wasn't with us shooting in the gym. Fuck are you talking about? This whole hip hop culture that we created that permeates the globe, like, nigga, you wasn't there in the early '80s break dancing on a cardboard box or climbing 3 stories to spray paint up on a wall or something. Like, you wasn't there on the ground floor, man. And then one of the, this is not a shot at Africans because I do rock with, you know, I do rock with the Africans. At least the cool ones, at least the good ones or whatnot. But one thing that the dude said that really kind of pissed me off is at the end of his comment, he said something to the effect that African Americans are ashamed of being African. It's like, no, you're gonna call us by our proper name. It's akin to, let's say, you're from Nigeria and you're from an Igbo tribe. You're from the Igbo tribe, right? And someone calls you Hassana. I don't know how you say that name, or Yoruba. You're gonna correct them right there on the spot. Like, no, I'm not a Yoruba. I'm a Igbo. You're not throwing shade on them. You're just correcting them. That's essentially what we're doing. We're correcting you. And this kind of goes into a couple of videos that some of the brothers here on YouTube have made a response to. Kid Organic made a response to this, and GW3 Extreme made a response to this about the young Haitian boy that came out the side of his face, you know, being very disrespectful towards quote unquote African Americans, i.e., Aboriginal Americans, and while simultaneously practicing our culture, which is our vernacular, our music, and our dialect. And this is not a shot at Haitians at all, because me being from a Caribbean heritage, I have love for all my peoples in the Caribbean, but this kid is a fucking idiot. First, two things that I really had a problem with this video. First, he was very disrespectful, and second, he was very ignorant. And his knowledge of the Aboriginal North American Negro. The disrespect that pissed me off is he kept referring to us as ignorant slaves. Well, okay, let's talk about that. Let's put a mirror in front of his face. Um, as it stands today, many Haitians are enslaved down in the Dominican Republic, and you can go look this up and research this yourself via the book "Disposable Peoples" by Kevin Biles, where it talks about modern day slavery and how modern day slavery impacts our today's global economy. So you have Haitians who are enslaved in the Dominican Republic, working in the sugarcane fields, the same sugar that us in the States consume on a daily basis. But yet he has the abnegated gall to sit up here and call us slaves. Ridiculous. And then his ignorance, which really pissed me off. He wants to call us ignorant, but his ignorance was just shining, talking about how Haitians played a big part in the Revolutionary War and African Americans, quote unquote, didn't play a part in the Revolutionary War because we were enslaved. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. We fought in every single war. You just need to do your research, son. But yeah, it's like other peoples of other nationalities, you know, who share a similar phenotype to us. Uh, they are akin to an abusive boyfriend or an abusive spouse of some sort. You know, they want to kick your ass and treat you like a piece of shit, but they don't want you to leave at the same time. And for you Africans, man, get off that coming to America complex shit, man. Get off that shit, man. I call it the coming to America complex. You know, Africans come over here. Them motherfuckers could have came from a mud hut, you know, living in squalor, coming from some slum or whatever, and they come here and they put on a facade like they're African princes and princesses and whatnot. I mean, get off that shit, man. We don't believe the fucking hype. I'm saying, just keep it a hundo. But getting back to this Haitian dude, and he's talking about, you know, how he was hazed and bullied and picked on in school and whatnot. Listen, it's just the nature of man. If you're an outsider, you're gonna get picked on and hazed by the insiders. You know what I mean? When I moved from the inner city to the suburbs to a predominantly white school where I can count all the black students in my grade on two hands, I experienced, you know, a level of hazing of some sort. When in my early high school years, when I moved down to Arkansas, me being from the north, and I spoke differently and I acted differently, even though it was the same town that my mother grew up in, you know, my mother, you know, went to school with some of the teachers and some of the people who lived in this various town and were friends with some of the mothers of the children whom I went to school with. I was perceived as an outsider and I was hazed and somewhat picked on to a certain extent. Of course, you know, had to get my roast game up and my knuckle game up and whatnot. But that's just what it is, man. You know, and to the Haitian boy, you know, that has a real axe to grind with African Americans, quote unquote, because he was picked on the school. Dude, go get therapy, man. Go see a shrink, bro. It's just the way of the world, man. It's just the nature of man. You know, a couple personal experiences of mine back in '08. I worked at this store, and it was a lot of Mexicans that worked there. And they had a excuse me, they had a Mexican supervisor or whatever, and they were speaking in Spanish, but you could feel the hostility from the majority Mexican staff and the minority, um, quote unquote African American staff. Like you could feel that shit. The Mexican supervisor come through, and he's sending the black people home first. You know, and then that's where I first learned the term mayate, which is a pejorative term that Mexicans use towards quote unquote African Americans or whatever. And a quick story: one of the Mexican dudes that worked there, he was from Sacramento. He moved to Colorado, then he moved to my town. And this dude, he would, because we had to be there like 4 o'clock in the morning. He would intentionally come late, go to my car, and let the air out of my tires. And when I found out he was doing this, I had to literally threaten this dude with violence. Like, dude, you do this again, I'm gonna knock your fucking teeth out, man. But that's just how it is. People are tribal, you know. Another story, I was working at this hospital about 5 years back, and working with a whole bunch of Nigerians, you know, and they had a Nigerian person that was the ADON upstairs, in the office or whatever. So whenever they got into some smoke, they go run to her, but they down on the floor causing all kind of fucking havoc and chaos and whatnot. But I took it upon myself when I found out, what nationality they were. I took it upon myself to go research their country and learn about them so I can try to relate to them on some level. But that didn't work because I was an outsider and they treated me like an outsider while simultaneously calling me brother. It's just how people are, man. It's just how people are. But man, that's all I gotta say for this video, man.